wanted to turn and talk about the unclaimed property program. So Act 126 of 2014 made some significant changes to our state's law with regard to unclaimed property. And among those changes was shortening the deemed abandonment of property period from 5 to 3 years. It strengthened your powers to enforce the law and required the registration and regulation of commercial finders of unclaimed property. So have you, as authorized by that act, conducted examinations to determine compliance with the Unclaimed Property Act?
Thank you, Senator. We essentially do kind of constant and ongoing monitoring of compliance with unclaimed property.
What have been the outcomes?
Well, part of the outcome has been that historically, on two different levels, that act in particular in shortening the dormancy period brought in a large amount of unclaimed property that effectively was a one-time kind of hit. It took a few years to work its way through the system. We believe things have kind of normalized now, and that the numbers we're seeing now are likely to be the numbers that we're seeing going forward. Having said that, we work internally and with external auditors to make sure that holders of property who have an obligation to report it are doing so, and things happen that are surprising, and new sources of unclaimed property emerge. So, for example, a few years ago, and the chairman was involved in this, there was a major development in life insurance reporting of unclaimed property that changed the landscape. There is an ongoing case and an effort in the U.S. Senate to essentially reconnect Pennsylvanians with unclaimed savings bonds that the federal government has really been holding on to and making no effort to return. So the landscape can shift in surprising ways, but part of that depends on us being out there as we have been and making unclaimed property is a consumer protection statute. It exists to reconnect people with money that's theirs, and so that I don't have the right to say, well, you haven't been in touch with me for a few years and I'm just going to call this my own. It's fundamentally a consumer protection statute, but the world is complicated and moves on and changes, so we need to keep up with that. One of my concerns, by the way, going back to our research question, is to be able to do these kinds of audits, to be out there, we need to keep up with our staffing and resource levels.
Are you assessing the cost of the examinations against the holders that are not properly reporting or remitting unclaimed property to the Treasury?
We do. I mean, we look at that on a kind of ongoing basis. There are holders and auditors we use to find those. There are also, you mentioned finders. That's a slightly different issue,
right.
And we register those. But yes, we do look at what. We have a couple of different external audit arrangements, and we have some internal efforts as well. We're also part of a number of multi-state initiatives when it comes to things like the savings bond case. We collaborate with other states.
Based on the implementation and the fact that things have stabilized, do you think that there are any changes that are necessary in that act to improve the process for our residents?
I do. And I want to commend, I think Senator Mensch, who's not here, helped correct a deficiency in the act about a year or two ago. There's an issue now with retirement accounts where we are not taking any action because the ideal solution would be legislatively requiring holders to check the death register as they do in the case of life insurance, so that you don't have the case of someone with a retirement account who passes away and the account stays for 2 or 3 or 4 decades being eaten away by fees. Senator Brown has a bill, I think, that would do just that I think would be quite helpful to us. That is the principal piece of unclaimed property legislation that we would be support at this time.